Continuing to track weather impact alert days, I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods, and a rundown of what we know so far about our October heat records. Now, our weather impact alert headlines will continue Wednesday and Thursday with those days, with the impact being near record temperatures. And we're not just talking afternoon highs, but also overnight lows. And needing to practice what we typically do in the summer, heat safety. We're going to at least have that for the next several days. What we know so far for that record high, Stockton, 101 degrees, the old record at 100, set back in 2001. We're continuing to monitor, though, some of the potentials for other records coming in through tonight into early tomorrow morning, and we'll have a complete rundown on abc10.com. As far as our recorded highs so far, you can see 100s pretty much throughout the entire valley. Modesto, the outlier there at 98 degrees, but San Francisco, a high of 94 this afternoon. Santa Rosa, 106, as well as Ukiah, upper 90s to near 100 in the foothills, and 80s up top for this year. Again, under that very strong ridge of high pressure. Heat advisory remains in effect throughout the valley until 11 o'clock Wednesday night. Now, the key factor here is we may have that extended into our Thursday. That being true as well for this excessive heat warning in play for much of the Bay Area, with temperatures well above average. We're talking 15 to 20 degrees above what we normally see in the beginning of October. And these unseasonably dry and warm conditions also elevating the fire danger, especially for the South Bay Area, extending from just south of Monterey all the way through San Luis Obispo and even parts of Santa Barbara, with a red flag warning in effect through Thursday evening. Fire danger really high this time of year. We've gone several months without significant rain, and now with the heat as well as some of those occasional winds, that's going to keep that fire danger high. Today, by the way, the beginning of our new water year. So here's a look at the last water year wrap up for downtown Sacramento, just slightly over 18 inches. Sacramento Executive, just slightly over 17.5 inches of rain. Stockton with about 14.5 inches, and Modesto with about 17.5 inches. Our water year in California runs from October 1st of one year through the following September 30th of that next year. Now, you can see as far as our normal, a little bit below average for downtown Sacramento and Sacramento Executive, but Stockton and Modesto, big winners right there. Modesto nearly 5 inches ahead of what we normally get. Now, all of us, though, saw much less rain than what we had the last year with that La Nina event, a drought buster for us. So it was a little bit drier than last year, but given that most of us did indeed see above average precipitation, those numbers looking pretty good. Statewide precipitation, again, what we saw for the wrap up of this last water year, below average for Redding, Sacramento, and South Lake Tahoe, as well as Palm Springs, but almost every other place saw above average precipitation. So most of us saw two back-to-back years with above normal rainfall and snowfall for the central and southern part of the Sierra Nevada. All right, let's get back to our record-setting warmth. Now, tonight is the night to watch with near record warmth because we have just a hint of those north winds and offshore winds that will keep that warmer air closer to the surface. So lows only falling into the mid 60s for many places and even near 70 for some areas, especially through the northern San Joaquin Valley. That's going to put us in near record warmth territory. As you can see, possible records into our Wednesday, not only for afternoon highs, but overnight lows as well. Record lows run in the mid to upper 60s, and the forecast is calling for mid to upper 60s. So we're going to be watching not only afternoon highs, but also overnight lows. The deal with the winds also keeping that humidity really low. We don't have a whole lot of overnight recovery, so even though we're not in red flag warning conditions, it is going to mean a slightly elevated risk of rapidly spreading fires with the dry air over us, and very little recovery as well during the afternoon, only running in the teens and single digits for our humidity. Here's the reason why. You can see, again, as far as the winds, they're not super problematic, but just a hint of that is going to keep that warm air close to the surface. Humidity levels very dry all the way through our Wednesday early part of the day. Then what happens during the afternoon is we're going to shift that wind direction, bring in just a hint of an onshore flow, and temperatures will moderate. It's not much, but it will take the edge off. Peak heat hits for many of us on Wednesday afternoon as that high pressure ridge remains overhead. It will start to shift its way eastward, and that's going to give us just a hint of that cooler weather coming in. Again, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, tracking the near record warm lows as well as those light north winds. Wednesday, heat risk continues, possible record highs. The deal on Thursday, we'll still have that heat risk continuing, possible record highs, but mostly we'll be tracking that in the northern San Joaquin Valley as that high starts to shift its way a little bit to the south and off to the east. Friday, we'll still have that heat risk, but we'll see some moderate cooling. It's not going to be much, but at least it will take the edge off. Here you can see our departures from normal. As far as the near 100-degree heat, we're going to knock that off after Thursday, but we'll still be well above average, especially for the southern part of the state and right along the central and southern coast. By the time we get into the weekend, we're still above average, but we're not seeing as many 100s in the forecast. Here's a look at the weather impact alert headlines. Elevated fire weather is what we're going to be tracking, as well as that near record heat, plus major to, in some areas, extreme heat risk. During our Wednesday, you can see pockets of that primarily right along the coast. We'll see a little bit of that, at least a touch in the mother lode as well. But we've got that excessive heat warning in play for the Bay Area, and then our heat risk and heat advisory in place for much of the Central Valley. Now we'll start to see that ease a little bit into our Thursday as that heat starts to migrate its way southward. That's why we could still see those heat advisories and alerts extended through our Thursday forecast before we start to see a touch more of cooling come into the forecast. What happens is we get this low to the north of us. It brings in the potential for some showers through the Pacific Northwest, very northern fringe of the Pacific Northwest through much of British Columbia. We get a hint of that onshore flow Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but we're still under that ridge of high pressure. And that means as far as those temperatures, they very likely will remain warmer than average into the middle of October, and a likely drier pattern still in the outlook through the middle of October. That's not to say we couldn't get a sprinkle here or there, but it's just not looking very likely. Our first fall rain actually hits during that time frame, with the average day with at least 1/10 of an inch on October 7th. Now, the latest day that we've had that is December 10th, when we haven't seen any rain above 1/10 of an inch for downtown Sacramento. The first day last year that we had at least 1/10 of an inch of rain, October 10th. I'm not really seeing that in the forecast right now. That's a little bit farther out, but weather models are very much favoring a drier than average start to October. Highs for tomorrow in the upper 70s to right around the mid 80s in the Sierra, with 90s and 100s still in play throughout much of the foothills. Heading towards the coast, a little bit better relief. Keep in mind we have a trickle of that onshore flow developing late in the day that should knock off at least a little bit of the heat for San Francisco, still at 85 degrees, well above average. 90s as we head inland, and then we get into these 100s. Napa, Vacaville, Rio Vista for the Delta, Tracy at 103, 106 for Gilroy. Central Valley temperatures, it's going to be a warm start to the day. A hot afternoon for us for this time of year. Widespread 100s. And again, we'll track the potential for some record warm lows tomorrow morning. Our 5-day regional forecast for the mountains. Highs are staying near 80 Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see a little relief on Friday in the low 70s, but right back to the mid 70s on Saturday and Sunday, with less of an influence from that onshore flow. Now we'll see the same pattern develop for the foothills. Close to 100 on Wednesday, mid 90s Thursday, low 90s on Friday. Just a few of those high clouds moving through. Saturday and Sunday, right back to the low to mid 90s. Certainly not feeling like apple picking season, and fall feels up there for Apple Hill. For the coast, mid 80s tomorrow. We'll still be in the 70s Thursday and Friday, and then we're right back to the 80s for this first weekend of October. I'm going to keep those weather impact alert days in effect through Thursday, with highs still in record territory, not necessarily for Sacramento proper, but for parts of our regional forecast, including the foothills and the northern San Joaquin Valley. After that, we start to see some moderation, but still well above average temperatures. It's not until we get into the middle and end of next week that we see not only near average but below average temperatures. There's a look at the records for our Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have a better chance of either tying or breaking that on Wednesday than, say, on Thursday when we see those highs in the upper 90s to right around the low 100s. Again, you want to make sure to download that ABC 10 streaming app for more in-depth forecasts just like this, as well as our explainers and weather specials.